Like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are creating and streaming from today. We'd also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Flynn. I'm the host today, and I'm here with Illustrator Dale Bigeni. What's up, Dale? How are you doing?
Man, I'm glad to be back, and I'm doing good. I'm a little bit tired today, but it's all good. It's a part of the job.
A lot of work keeping you up. A lot of deadlines and stuff like that.
Actually, there are a couple of big ones that are they kind of play on my mind into the early hours of the morning, I guess. But it's also just just life, being an adult, trying to adult work and do all that other stuff. But I've got some really cool stuff I'm working on that keeps me going.
Yeah, keeps you level. That's good. It's good to be working on cool projects and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you missed on part one, that's all good. So we're doing a 2-day poster festival if you did miss out on yesterday. So tips and tricks in using Adobe Illustrator. There might be a little bit of supporting act from Photoshop today. Yeah. It is the second day of the festival. So, crawling out of the tent and having a coffee before you start jumping around in the crowd. But yeah, we have your desktop here, so maybe we should just jump over. We'll have a little bit of a poke around, maybe a quick little recap on what we kind of covered yesterday, and we'll have a chat. Let's bring it over here. Yeah, here we are in Adobe Illustrator.
All right, all good. Sorry, I just moved this little window out of the way. All right, so yesterday we kind of just discussed, like little tips and tricks just in order to kind of, I guess it's like, I was thinking about it actually this morning. It was more like a very basic overview of some of the tools that I find really handy and I use quite a bit. So I just got to find where my file went.
Oh, and also for anyone watching, we are live. So if you have questions as we're going along, please don't hesitate to throw your questions in chat. Whether it's around kind of what Dale did, what Dale didn't do, why Illustrator, why Photoshop, that sort of stuff. When it comes to illustration or design, feel free to throw the questions in chat.
Yeah, there's no questions I won't answer.
Really?
Well, let's keep it design, Illustrator. Yeah, okay.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, no, probably shouldn't open myself up like that. But so we kind of just we looked at all these little tips and tricks, and I would put it at like a novice level. This isn't for anyone that's super experienced and wants to know anything that you don't already know, but I think it's good to review stuff like this from ground up, basics and maybe things that you overlook. We quickly spoke about the purpose and when you would use the different preset brush strokes and things like that. We spoke about building libraries and assets on a separate file to your working file, just to keep things in kind of a nice clean working space, but also for the fact that if you are working with a third-party designer or animation team, whatever, they're still called designers, right? I can still call them that.
Yeah.
That they might want these assets, they might want to get some movement out of your mascot, or they might want to float the cloud in from the side, to give this poster that we kind of created a bit more life and things like that. So the overview was, like I said, it was a basic overview, but you can watch it from the video yesterday, and hopefully there's some things in there you didn't know. Hopefully there's a few things that have just refreshed into your brain as well, I forgot that I could do that way. So yeah, we kind of spoke about the envelope distort up here, using that function versus using the warp tool. Very similar in what they do, but they both have their perks and pros and cons. But again, we won't go too far into that. What I was going to discuss today was just a little bit of we've got this poster and we're quite happy with it, but there's kind of multiple directions you might want to take it. And although we're talking about having that file able to be edited and broken down and things like that, we can still go in and add some colors, some details, some effects, and I guess whether it's in Illustrator or Photoshop, just talk through that finishing process. So I'll just go straight into it. So we know we've already Sorry, there's something on my screen and it's really annoying me. I'm just scratching it off. Sorry.
Because you
Um,
you work on a Cintiq, right? So you're working on
yeah,
what you draw on. For
yeah,
those
correct.
that don't know, so yeah, if you've got a
Like,
little bit of dust or hair or something, that's going to be particularly distracting.
yeah, it's very distracting. So yeah, it's a handy device in all means of what its purpose is, but you do have to keep it clean, Dale. Like give it a wipe every now and then.
It's really bad
I,
when you don't wipe your screens down for a while and then you finally do, and you're just like, oh,
or when the lights go out and you can just see all the
yeah.
the fingerprints and stuff.
I did a
Yeah,
video not that long ago, like where I had to have the camera kind of pointing at everything, and I was like, "Oh, this is gross. I have to clean everything." I
yeah,
didn't
you got to
realize
give the
how.
whole, yeah, do the
Yeah,
whole room, just clean everything, start from scratch. Yeah, sorry. Just so, um, okay, the screen's clean. We got that.
we're good to
That's
go.
all good.
Okay.
We're good to go. So I guess like with something like this, obviously I've outlined all the text, so like I've got to a point where everything's pretty, as far as the design goes, it's a pretty rock solid design. We spoke about how the design should sell and convey that message and get your product festival brand across in a way that kind of pulls people in. This worked. It fooled a lot of people. They thought there was an actual festival. Jokes on
Yeah.
them. We are. This is it. This is the festival. This is as good as it gets. So, I think that in itself is like I guess it's like a, I don't know, affirmation kind of thing where you're like, well, I did a good job because everyone thought it was a festival. So we're talking poster design. It's a poster design. It's nailed the brief and given people something to get excited about, which unfortunately we probably disappointed a few people. So now I've got my artwork and yeah, I could leave it like that. I mean, I could go in and just change all the colors till my heart's desired. I whatever works for the project. We could change, the text color. We could add more detail. So we're just going to talk through all those little things. So um, I've already got it as red, simple, basic. If you want to change all your colors at the same time, we're going into select, same fill color. It'll give me all the reds. Obviously, this is a stroke, so it hasn't been selected for anyone playing at home. I think it might be a bit small, sorry. So it's selected everything that's the same fill color. I haven't outlined this stroke yet, so like we said yesterday, make sure everything's expanded. So I'm going to just go in. All right, so I'm just going to expand these strokes so that they become fills. So now they're fills. See that?
Nice.
Another way. So you can see it's an object now versus, so that's a stroke. When we expand it, we get it as an object with points
And that's something you tend to do towards the end of the project. Like you think you're pretty happy with where everything's sitting. Like you might keep
yeah,
a version. I think in yesterday's stream, I called it a sticker sheet. Basically, you had all your assets like kind of there in their original creation. So the text is text and the strokes are probably strokes. But then when you bring it in, you can kind of go nuts because you know that you have this as a backup to go back to
it's
later.
like it's your safety net, right? Like you know that, like, and I've fell victim to it myself where I've like, okay, outline, delete, subtract using Pathfinder and cutting shapes, and then I'm like, oh man, I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I do try to keep everything, and you can see obviously like nothing's being cut here. Sorry, so nothing's being cut out. Like I can go in and move these off. Sometimes I've done it where I like merge these into the shape so they all become one, and I can move everything at once. But this is a safer way of doing it. But like you said, once you're at the very end of your project, you can go for broke. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just go through. So we've got this little like an object here, the red shape, and I'm just going to go in and select this. Same. I don't know how clear this is for you guys, but I'm just in select, same fill color, and that just selects all the red. So you can see it's selecting it everywhere.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is great if you've got like multiple artboards. Maybe you've got, I don't know, like 4 colors or something like that. and
Yeah.
you want to like just globally kind of change everything. Yeah.
So, and it does. So this is using artboards. It's not me creating. You can actually see their artboards. If I click on the artboard tool, you can see the two artboards, O1 and O2. What's the purpose of the artboards? For this instance, I was making a Instagram vertical and an Instagram square, so 16 by 9 on the left and 1 by 1 or 1000 by 1000 on the right.
1080 by 1080 probably. Yeah.
So I've just like this is just good to have, or if you're building multiple assets, if you need a web banner, you can like just pull it out to whatever size you need. Like I'm just going to keep it at the same width there. So you can see I've got like another artboard 6 apparently. I don't even know where the other ones are, but anyway, it'll create another artboard. Same thing. I can copy across these assets, and once I select, so if I put another one over here, we can just put that there, and you'll see it grabs off all the boards, not just off this left one. So select same fill color, and yeah, it's selected all of them, and you can see a more changed color. Nice. So at least with this you can, and the beauty of doing it this way is, oh sorry, look at this little red guy. He didn't even get selected.
He's snuck off.
Yeah, why is that? Alright, let me just backtrack to my red. Maybe it's a different red. It does look a bit brighter. Alright, let's try again. Select same fill color. There we go. We've got them all now. Let's get rid of this font. Can you see all that, Flynn? That's all.
Yeah.
Alright, so I've got that, and then you can just flick through color by color, work out which color is best for the for whatever you're doing. You can see the banner up here also has a stroke applied on it, so I haven't expanded that. That's why it's not selecting the red. I've only asked for the fill color. But yeah, so I can go in and change all the colors this way. Even blue looks nice, so we can leave it blue. Let's suss out what's happening here. So you can see that's separate, and it's got like a warp effect to it. So you can see the text has that warp effect applied to it.
Yeah.
So it looks like that in wireframe, but the warp effect is actually presenting it like that. I might just outline this. Oops. So you get object, expand again, fill and stroke, and then I'm just gonna go into Pathfinder, and I'm just gonna use the unite, and then it becomes one singular shape. So there's no more stroke, it's just one shape, and it's blue. So we're back. It's all the same colors. Put my text back in. There we go, we're back. I was like, why didn't this poster design get that was white to begin with? Okay. So yeah, changing colors, that stuff's easy. Adding colors in is exactly the same. It can be applied with the same ease. Like I can color this guy individually by selecting each of his parts. Do I want to? No, I don't. I'm quite happy with how this looks as a 2-color job, or 3-color, depends who's asking. But yeah, and then from here I'll be like, oh, maybe I want to add some details. Maybe you want some highlights, some shadows, some things like that. So there's a couple of ways I would do it. So this is probably the first way I used to do stuff like this. So I want to add like a little bit of a highlight on the poster design. It's got like a bubbly effect, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to do Command F and apply it straight on top. I'm going to create a stroke of any color, doesn't matter, make pink just so we can see it. I'm going to put round cap and round corner just because I prefer it to have that round look. And then I am going to just increase the size of this. So you can see it's just like set onto like the center of the stroke. So it's applied to the center. I just change it into the middle, so it goes inside. That way I can see how far away this is going to appear.
So why do you do it on the middle stroke instead of the outside or the inside?
Okay, so I had it set to to inside,
Yeah.
to center, and it kind of just like it throws me too much because of I guess the overhang on the left, and then the inside having it. So I prefer it to be on the inside, so that way I know exactly that's my gap that I'm working with.
You're right. Yeah.
And so where I say gap is because I want to do, I know I'm going to have the white on this kind of like edge of it. I don't want the white all the way here. I want to give it some breathing space. So I'm just going to make it probably a bit too big, but let's go. I've just got up 7 points. So now you can see there's like this border that I've created, but that's not what I want. So I want to expand this. Do the same thing. Oh, sorry. I just go to trim and make it so that now you can see it's got this. It's a second version of the post with the pink, and then I'm just going to go in. First, I'm going to lock this blue poster design. Put this back in place. And then I just want to get rid of that blue fill. I probably should have got rid of the fill, but I'm just clicking on to get rid of the blue fill. All right, so I've got, oh, sorry, I went too fast for myself. Sorry. All right, so what I want to do is get rid of the stroke. So I want to select the poster. Oh, sorry, select the letters, the inside. So I'm just selecting with the direct select. And then I'm going to copy this and remove that. And I'll do this in another color so you can see. So you can see it's got that stroke without being a stroke. Yeah, it's just the smaller version.
It's like the illusion of the stroke.
Yeah, and I have to say this. So this is a font. I've obviously downloaded this one for free somewhere, and you can see like the difference between a free font and
it's a bit of a mess with the amount of points. Yeah,
and stuff like this is quite frustrating to look at. But look, for all intensive purposes, we won't go into that too much. But I got a feeling what I'm about to do is gonna not look as good because of those little imperfections that I can see all over it. But anyway, so I would just select all of the yellows. So select same fill color.
I mean, you could always go through and like simplify the stroke as well if you wanted to, but you know, for the purposes of the stream.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely can do that. And we spoke actually, I think it was a different stream, but like using stuff like the smooth tool, which is under your brushes, pencil. You can see this smooth tool. And can you see that one, Flynn? Is that coming through? Yeah. And then you can go in and like, obviously this isn't going to change the blue because I'm only working on that yellow. But if I select all of what's going on here, I can get rid of that and just keep like working that smooth tool over this until and there you go. Like
it's super easy to use, and it makes a big difference. Keeps your file size down, and those little kind of kinks like that you get in strokes. They become problematic a lot. Yeah, and you get weird spikes and stuff as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you ever had, I'll try it on this actually, just while we're talking about it to explain what we're talking about. So this has like a lot of like kinks in these letters, and sometimes you might apply a stroke to this. And I'm just going to leave it on butt cap and miter joint. So when I go, like if you start getting bigger on that, sometimes you'll get like these daggers that fly off for some strange reason. But my way around that is always like, if you don't want to go in and smooth it, if I round cap and round butt, it usually just smooths everything out anyway. But that's me being lazy. Like definitely use the smoothing tool because you just don't want to print your poster and see this stuff.
Yeah,
like it's very unprofessional, but it's also like, you know, when we saw this online, it's, you know, we only see it at that size, so no one's reading it. But if it goes onto poster scale and we're looking at an AO version, it's going to look pretty poor.
Yeah. And every designer that you interact with will point out the mistake as well.
That's all they're looking for. That's all they just want to pick something out. They're jealous.
They're jealous.
They're jealous. All right. And so I've got my my version of the poster in the yellow, and we're talking about trying to get this into like a kind of like a shine or like a highlight. So all I'm going to do is click it. I'm going to do alt drag, and you can see. Oh, hang on a second. Let's do it. I'm going to do it in wireframe so you can see what's happening. All right, so I'm just going to alt drag this, and you can see I can see the gap. So in between here, that's going to be my highlight, right? Because when I use, oops, do I have two there? Yeah, sorry. I feel like I did something wrong, but I'm going to try again. Oh, there you go. So
there's another one like slightly offset or something.
Yeah, so offsetting it just a little bit. It's probably not enough because this text is really fat, but so I'll go in and then I'll just do the minus the front, and then I've got like, it leaves me with the little highlights per se.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've now got like a real basic, like, and I think you got to go in and have a look. Like sometimes fonts can do some weird things, and those extra points and things like that we're talking about start to kind of like show more. So yeah, and see, when I moved it, the offset left this tiny little like white line on this. Probably don't want that. Like I want to get rid of that, so I can get rid of that. But overall, like you get like a little. See, this is exactly what we're talking about, guys. Look at this. Is this a bubble font or like what's going on? So you could get your smoothing tool. That's really annoying to look at, and I just like keep drawing over that part, and then I just go on this one, and it looks way better. Like it's obviously not perfect, but there we go. That looks better. But that's one way to get kind of like a little bit of like, you know, give it a bit of character, give it a bit of that, like, you know, not that it's added a lot, but it's also added a little bit of a detail that keeps it away from looking super flat. And it's it's an easy way to do it, I guess. Like you're not using any 3D tool that's gonna like, you know, max out the anchor points or any of that sort of stuff. You kind of, it's like a low effort version of like a shine. You can do the same thing for a shadow. Like you could I would just drag across and do the same thing. Not even putting a stroke, and then minus the front.
Nice.
Oops. Background should be on another layer, but it's not. So I'll just drop that on top there, and maybe I'll just get a darker blue. And there you go. It's given like straight away, it's like just giving it a little bit of dimension. It doesn't feel as flat. Like it gives it like, gives it more character, especially for something like this. Like it's got the font works with something like that. It doesn't always work with everything. Like it's not always going to work. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe we've got a love heart, but maybe we don't want the love heart and we want to do let's do some little shine or something. So you can see, sorry, also these don't quite line up. So I would always go in and, you know, tweak where that lands, these lines here.
Yeah, so it's like a good start, and then you might want to fix it up a little bit. Like some little artifacts have come through, and you might say, well, I'm either going to thicken it up a little bit, or I'll just delete that and might not need it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like for where it gets you, like it's just a matter of extending some lines, you know, like maybe remove this one if it's like it doesn't really need it there. Like it's you're building like these parts of the artwork that just help you get to a direction. It's not by all means it's not perfect. Like I said, you'd go in and smooth. Sorry, I was pointing at it with my finger, like you could see. But you could go in and straighten this stuff here, like all those little rogue points, we'll call them. But like for what it's worth, like you look at that, I'm looking at it as like a kind of, it's got a bevel, or it's got like that little bit of an edge to it now. Yeah, for sure, it needs work, but that's all good. You've got to, you know, this is your project. You take your time with it. We're just demoing how to get here.
Yeah.
So also, stars and things like that. Like I put them on everything. Stars to me look like dots when I look at them. Like I'm not 7 years old. Like, you know, I don't draw them with points all the time. So most of the time I might just add some like different sized little circles and stuff. Like this is how I would usually do it. So it's zoomed out. But then if you want to throw a little bit of you do want a pointy version. Okay, we all know that this is what a star looks like. And it's a great looking star. Thank you, Illustrator. We love you. But if you go into effect, distort and transform, pucker and bloat. So I'll go into here and I'll make my stars like this.
Oh, nice.
Because I just think they look nicer. And then so I get it, you can either have it really, sorry, that went too far. So you can have it really thin, but for the sake of print and always having that merch mindset, let's call, I always think that people are going to end up putting whatever they put on print onto a shirt or whatever, anything like that. So I would always keep it a little bit fatter, the lines, and then I might just go, okay, object, expand, bring it all to one shape, and then I'll just make it a bit longer so it's got a little bit of a, and like, look, I feel like they're miles apart, but they still do the same job. So
yeah, it's less cartoony as well, right? It's a little bit more graffiti, I think.
Well, yeah, I think that's where I kind of get that inspiration from like that graffiti kind of, you know, culture, and that's why I like the stars circle. But, you know, like it adds a lot to it, and yeah, you can have them, just scatter them around. Like, I mean, they're three circles essentially, and it's, you know, it adds another bit of character to that artwork. And again, excuse me, sorry.
Bless you, buddy.
It's another one of those, like, okay, so here's the star tool, and we all know that we can use the star. You can press shift and alt, and it will change the style of the star, fat or skinny, let's just call it that, thin or chubby. And then if you want more points, you can go in and press the up arrow and get more points, or you can go down and get less points. So if you don't know that, there's that trick too. So but like, it's got there's times when you want it, right? Like that you could do something with this, I don't know, maybe it could go behind him instead of the circle. Like, it's
make your own like star flare.
Yeah, like I don't know, maybe you own a business and you want to go like super old school and have starbursts everywhere.
Yeah,
like
when you've got a sale.
Yeah, you know, like nothing says sale like a crazy radiant star. But let's keep it circle. Let's keep on brand here. I like it clean. All right, so
circle's cool, especially with the brick. It's a little bit like
it's kind of got
stand up. It's like a stand up kind of thing, like with the brick wall, like the Jerry Seinfeld. What is it, Laugh Factory or something?
Yeah. Well, that's I kind of like that little, like the spotlights on him, but also it can look like anything else really. Like it's that. I think that's the beauty of like Illustrator. It's so easy to play around and make things like look a certain way, but also you got that luxury of like, oh man, yellow's way easier. Like, and I know Photoshop does it, and I'm not saying it's not as easy. It's just like, once you're here, like I can get all these effects in Illustrator, and if I spend enough time, I can make this like have its gradient looks and things like that, you know. Like I mean, they've both got their power that they, you know, you got to pull on for certain things. Illustrator just is the ultimate for keeping file sizes down, and that whole scaling up and down, like you can't be beaten. So yeah, I think that's pretty handy to do. Like, also if this text isn't for you and you think it's, I don't know, that's not working for you, we can try another way of doing this, I guess, 3D look or 3D style. We spoke about it quickly yesterday, about using the 3D tool. I don't always. I sometimes just do it like this, where I'll just go copy, again, paste in place, but I'll just go like a little bit smaller. So I'm doing Shift Alt. I really should change the color so you can see the difference. So I'm just going smaller by clicking Shift Alt and the center. I don't know what you call that point, Flynn. What's the scale point, I guess?
Like the point that's in the middle of the...
Yeah, this guy here. It's just like a...
I don't know. Let's call it center point today.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it the center point. And I'm just like Alt Shift clicking so that it's like kind of coming in uniformed.
Yeah.
So like you can see it's coming in uniform. And what I'm looking for is like, I want it to kind of taper like, you know, inwards kind of thing. So there's two ways you could do it, I guess. I could have it this way where it's, or this way, whatever. It's like a classic like 3D drop shadow kind of thing that happens. Or you could go with the center point, Shift Alt, pull it in, and then maybe move it down, and it's got more of a like a... Oops, sorry, I went too far.
Oh yeah, it's kind of coming in a little bit, almost
Yeah,
on a curve. That's a bit of an optical illusion.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why it's not got... Sorry, I think I've clicked the layers like up too many times. Yeah, so you can see it's like a little bit more of like a perspective shadow than like an offset shadow. It kind of, it's up to you. It's up to you however you do it. I like this look because it kind of, I don't know, it just has a nice look when it comes into the center and doesn't go out of the letters too much. And then all I'll do is I'll just go copy. Sorry, I might just do it with this top one. So I need a layer for the let's call it the text color. So I'll lock this layer. So I'll copy it and then I'll lock it. Oops. Oh, sorry. I tried to close the whole program. So lock it by pressing Command 2 to lock that. So you can see I can't move that. Then I'll do Command F, place it on top again. And then if you choose the same color, and then I'm going to go into my wireframe again so I can see what's happening. If you click these two layers and use the blend tool, which is here, the three little shapes, you can see, I think it's just B, is it? Sorry, I'm trying to make it come back. Oh, W, that makes sense, right? Click W, and then you click on this point to this point. You should see, you go into blend options and go to specified steps. I don't even think I didn't even do it. One sec.
Might not have done it. Yeah. I always find it a little bit tricky to know when it's clicked.
Yeah. I'm going to use two colors. It's going to blend the two colors, but let's just, at least I'll see if it starts jumping. So I've clicked there. Yeah. So you can see, so the blend tool automatically wants to blend yellow to red.
Right.
So it's going to gradually, and I've got it set to specified steps. So obviously there's one step from yellow to red, and that's orange. So if I go into object, blend options, I can go into, you can have smooth color, specified steps. I like to go specified steps, and then I just go press up arrow, and you can see, so 2 gets another tone, 3 gets another tone. It starts getting all these tones, right? So if you just click all the way through, you start getting like this nice gradient of the color.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not, that's not really important. I just wanted the steps to be okay. So if I go like this and I click that yellow on top and change it to red, it's now just like, it's got specified steps all the way through. It's 3D, but if I move that, you can see it moves away.
Right.
It tries to stay connected to that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just usually grab it, object, expand again. Yeah, and then you'll see there's like, that's all the steps that we put in.
All right, that's a lot of points.
Yeah, it is. So I just go to unite and I click unite. It might take a while because there is a lot going on there.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and then that's it. So now I've got like this shape that can sit behind here. there are still like, again, it's all like, it's a bit of a work in progress thing where you would go in and you can see that because there was so many steps, we have these things where it's like all these are points, right? So all, look at all those points. But again, you can just go into here and like smooth tool, and
It's just one point. Yeah.
it's that easy. It's like, it's not, don't feel like you've done anything wrong. Like, you'll go through that whole artwork at one point and start cleaning everything. I think the smooth tool is very like, it's a very powerful but very useful tool in the way that it's, you know, it's designed to eliminate these anchor points to keep your artwork, one, as smooth as possible, and two, as small as possible in terms of file size. So sending it around and doing stuff with it should be a breeze. So yeah, but now we've got like another way of doing these 3Ds. Maybe you want to just darken the blue, and there you go. We've got,
Oh, that looks cool.
yeah, so you've got another version. You can see that that perspective point is here somewhere, you know, like it's not just like off center, but the principles still stay the same. You can still do it exactly the same, and you can play with the colors. You can do that blend where it's got the color gradient, but it's just not my art style at all. So I'm not a fan of it. But then I sometimes might just grab that shadow and put like another layer. So copy, paste that, and then I might just give it like its own little stroke behind all those letters. So yeah, so you can give it like a little, and then maybe you just want to do it like, I'll do it dark gray just because, yeah, you know, like it's.
What was that last thing you did? You did like an outline around the whole thing, because that was also, again, like reminds me a lot of like kind of graffiti, like maybe like a like 70s, 80s.
So all I did
style.
was I just grabbed the shadow itself, because I know the shadow is aligned with the edge of this text. So
Right.
so I just copy, and then I paste in place again, and then all I'm doing is like, I'll grab a darker gray just on top of the black, and then I'll just add the cap and corner to be rounded, and I'll just do like a fat border on it, and then I just send it to the back. And my computer struggles a bit, but that's fine, it's coming. You can see it. I think I went really big on that, but it's going to pop up in a sec. Sorry, because I've got
Dealing
many
with all of the
artboards.
points as well, I think.
Yeah. I don't even know what it is. It's just like disappeared. It doesn't want to be a part of it, guys. I don't even know where it went. Okay. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I think I did too many. It's a bit big. I can see the spinning ball of death up there, just like keep showing its face. It's here somewhere. God, how many layers do I have? There we go. Alright, and I want it to go. I don't want that shadow of the brush under it. So yeah, I might make it smaller. I went a bit crazy trying to explain. Sorry, Flynn. It's just like, I think I went too high on this weight on the
Oh yeah.
And it's just like the computer didn't like it at all. But anyway, we're here. All right,
you
so that's
you can see just then. You could see all of the points. So yeah, there's a lot for him to try to figure out.
So that's why I would advise going in and cleaning those points up. And now my computer is just like decided it's not going to do anything. It's still trying to decide where it's at. So you know what? In the meantime, what we will do is I'll open up Photoshop.
We'll just give the computer another task. Let's just jump over to Photoshop.
I've just got another a document in Photoshop. So I guess this is more in line with like if we're confident with how that artwork's looking in Illustrator, how like we can move it over to Photoshop and add these effects. But the difference in like time, that the scale situation and all that sort of stuff, like I just like I fully like have killed Illustrator, guys.
When was the last time you saved?
Oh, that's all right. I think I saved it yesterday, but I just, you know, probably shouldn't have given it 40-point stroke, but I might just quit and then we'll keep this show moving. Okay, so if Illustrator quits, guys, that's not great, but we're back, right?
So that's a good thing about like knowing Photoshop and Illustrator as well. So like when Illustrator decides it doesn't want to play, just jump over to Photoshop. When
Yeah.
Photoshop doesn't want to work, you just jump back over to Illustrator.
Look, and see, look, and if you're lucky, it'll recover your artwork from a crash, if you can see that. All right, so
Successfully recovered.
yeah. All right, so oh, and we've still got this stroke. You can just leave. We've just asked it to leave real nicely. All right, so let's move over to so that basically I was just gonna put a stroke. There's no benefit to it. I just kind of like the look of that little stroke behind it. Like I said, these things that I do is just because I like it. It's not because it's right or it makes it any better or anything. It's just personal preference, and I really like doing like those little touches to add a little bit of detail. So I'm gonna try it one more time, Flynn, but I'm gonna go slow.
Okay.
Now we're there. So yeah, I was just gonna do this, and all I was gonna do was just like I can expand it because I don't want to make it any bigger. Okay. Nothing like some live action drama, you know. Just to unite that. And then I'll just pick this gray. And I might just go one layer. Yeah. All right, so it was just to put a little stroke, just to define it again, like a little bit. It doesn't need it. It doesn't add anything to it, but like I would do that across the board on all this text. Like so it would all share that same kind of style, but otherwise we can always go from here and we can do it in so we've got our design and we're pretty happy with it. I would just copy it. I wouldn't even take the background. I just copy that, move it into Photoshop as a smart object. And if you don't know about the smart object, the quickest way to explain it is if I double click on this smart object within Photoshop, I can make changes to this smart object component. So I can get rid of this date. And then if I hit save, and then I jump over to Photoshop, you'll see the date removed. So
right.
Yeah, so it's actively still an Illustrator file until you rasterize this layer or decide that you're happy and it becomes a full Photoshop file. So I'm just going to go back because I want the date. So I can jump back into that smart object, which is here. I just go Control Z, get my font back, press save, close it. Actually, we can even close this. I'll save it just in case. Oh no, this is the outline, the recovered file. You can just leave there. And then I'm back in Photoshop, and you see that just popped back up the date down here. So while I'm in Illustrator, I just want to give it a new background color. So I go solid color, and I can just pick black because I want it to be black. But now I've got my solid color layer here. I can definitely I can change that at any point, but keep in mind that I've got outlines on this stuff that are black, so it's a little bit more than just changing, the background color. Then have to go and get rid of this black stuff, which isn't hard. It's just a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it black for this demonstration. So yeah, in Photoshop, I would do the same sort of stuff. I would be coming in here and I just, I can go in and manually add new layers on top, and I can create that same thing that I was doing in Illustrator. Sorry, I'm just gonna do it really quickly. So I can use the brush tool and get the same sort of
right. So this is like a manual kind of, if you have a Wacom or something, way to do it.
And I think this would be probably the better way to do it. And I do apologize if it's not as if it looks a little bit kinky.
Kinky.
not that sort of kinky, but like it feels like it's a bit jumpy at the moment. So I just turned up my smoothness. So if it's a bit laggy, that's why. So yeah, I can go in now and do all this sort of stuff, and you can already see that. Like to me, I did that in Illustrator in maybe 3 moves in total. In Photoshop, I'm gonna sit there and do it by hand, and I'm gonna get like irritated because I'm gonna do one and it's gonna do exactly that. Like I'm gonna have to redo lines over and over again, and that's it takes away from like how clean that design was. So you can come in here and do it in in Photoshop, but I think Photoshop's when it becomes less what's the word, structured, I guess.
Right.
And it's for me, I treat it like it's like a piece of paper and a pencil kind of thing, where Illustrator is very like refined and everything's super clean and all
Kind of
that
like
sort of stuff.
mathematical, right? Like
Yeah,
you're copying something and then you're like using an effect, kind of like
yeah,
copying and pasting and then nudging like five to the side and then turning it into a stroke or
exactly.
doing something. So
But
you, yeah,
but you have that luxury of like the uniformity of it.
yeah,
But then you also have the luxury in Photoshop to make it feel less like a digital piece of art, because let's face it, that's the direction the world's going in. They still love that natural look. You've got people making texture brushes and all these brushes to help emulate natural art. So,
yeah.
but there's nothing wrong with either. I think there's a huge demand for clean cut illustrated graphics, and I stand by like Illustrator's capabilities and what it's used for. But I also like the integration of like I can come into here and I can add these little details into the text or anything. So I might just grab the text like this. I'll go to select. I can go to modify and contract, which means it's going to bring it in by a certain amount of pixels. So I'm going to bring it in by like 10 pixels.
Hmm.
I've got my little stroke, and then I can go in and add a new layer, and I can get a brush. And this is probably the beauty of Photoshop, is how quick this part can happen. So I can get a brush and do a darker blue. And I might just go, oops, literally pick the same blue. So I might just go across and I can get like a tone at the bottom here. I can get a tone up here.
Oh,
Or,
right. Yeah.
or I can go, we can leave it like that, and then we can get a white. We can run it through the middle, and like you're straight away getting tone, like that depth and stuff. Like that's a bad example, but Illustrator has these pros where it's super quick and you can do all these things like color selection, things like that. Photoshop has them in different ways for me. Doesn't always work for what I want to do, but I like the ability to go in and mix between the two, like I think I spent the longest time thinking it all had to just happen in Illustrator, and here comes 2023 where no one's caring anymore about what file type you use. Most printers are like, can I just have a PNG?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy where we're at, where like at a point now where you can just like you know hand them over a high res Photoshop file and that's it. Like
Yeah.
I love that. It's but yeah. So I'm selecting with the magic wand, I guess, and it's doing a like a overall sweep, like the select same color. If I don't want to use this color anymore, I can always go in and do down here we've got the little half circle icon, and you just hit solid color, and then you can go in and pick whatever color you want for the text now. Same as Photoshop, just sorry, same as Illustrator, just like it's it works in different ways, like at least
Mm.
Illustrator's got all your swatches over here and you can just click and do what you have to and click the object. Photoshop has to create new components of that smart object, so I've pulled them off and now they work alone, but
Mm.
I've still got my raw file under here. The problem is if I go back into my smart object at this point and change design to festival, it's going to be problematic. It's the computer's not going to like it. So yeah, it has its pros, has its cons. I think to be able to switch between the two is a skill worth having.
Yeah.
I think people I think we live in an era where no one's really batting for one team anymore. I think everybody's quite versatile with their workflow. So yeah, but then you can keep going with brushes and downloads that you can get. We all know that Kyle's brushes are available. True Grit, I've got a bunch of them, and I tend to flip between both apps because I know, they do their certain roles. So, I
Mm.
might I know that True Grit has textures for Illustrator now, but I still find myself coming into Photoshop to use some of the brushes and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's nice to be able to come in and you know and try to integrate the design and really get the best out of both programs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
And
think it's
at what point when you're looking at a brief do you decide whether you're going to create something in Photoshop or Illustrator?
I think if I know it's going to be like text heavy or like it's going to be something with majority text, I'll probably just stay in Illustrator.
Yeah.
Um,
But you might create an asset in Photoshop and bring it
yeah,
across.
yeah,
Like in here, you might put a Photoshop asset in, but you've done all the type kind of. Is
yeah,
that right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just there's nothing stopping you from doing it the reverse to what we just did. You just bring that Photoshop illustration into the Illustrator file and you can do the same thing. It comes in as a placed image and you can't edit it too much in Illustrator and it will lose its quality once it's blown up and all that stuff if it is a pixel-based photo, but sorry, image.
Mm.
But I think it depends on the brief, and if it's text heavy, Illustrator, because I just know the copy is always going to look clear no matter what size. If it's illustration and I know it's a merch thing, I'll Photoshop, Illustrator, whichever one suits the brief, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's nice to I think it's great that like we have the option to kind of like jump between the programs, like it's
Mm.
for forever it felt like you just had to stick to one, but no, not the case anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that's yeah, I would just come in here and I would add just like little bits of like detail like this, like adding some sh texture to the shadow and things like that, like to the wall, like stuff like this that you can do in Illustrator, but it's kind of like it's just it's easier to operate in here. And I find if I do that, the textures in Illustrator, the textures are so detailed overall that like you're getting so much more pixels, sorry, anchor points and stuff.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
starts really making it really sluggish. But again, it depends on where that artwork's for or what your intent is with that. Then it might work and people might not be too concerned. I also think like there's a lot of people that are still a little bit, what do you call them, like the cowboys of design, where all these apps have come out to allow everybody to feel like an artist, and that's fine. It's great. I love that. But people aren't as mindful as they need to be with what they're trying to create and where they're trying to have that live in the future. So
Yeah.
yeah, always be mindful of like the app's capabilities and the printer's capabilities and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, it's
But
cool. I
yeah,
really like seeing the like extra little like bits of flair, like a little bit of texture in there
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff.
yeah. I think it's nice. It's nice to yeah, keep the people entertained and keep you want it to feel like a fun design always overall, and like it doesn't take much to really enhance a design anyway. So it's like just get in there and do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then we're good to go. We can send it to print.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. But like if there is any questions that people want to ask that they feel like I was a bit too quick on, please feel free to hit me up on Instagram or email, whatever you want to do. But it's just get in there and have fun and explore the apps. Like, there's not one thing more important in one than the other. It's just whatever makes that project perfect.
Yeah, totally. And what is so it's Art by Dale on Instagram. That does take us
Yeah.
to the end, by the way, as well. So thanks everyone for for being with us today. So Art by Dale on Instagram
That's
to
it.
check out Dale's work, and if you want to get in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. And that's it. Dale, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We've had a very good time at our poster festival. Only two to three people were invited, if we include Johanna as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And everyone watching, of course. But yeah, thanks so much. It was a great great series of events. If you missed the first one, go back and check that out. There was some great kind of more beginner tips and tricks in that one, and probably a few more slightly advanced stuff here today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys.
And yeah, we'll see you next week on Adobe Life. See you, Dale. Thanks a lot.
Catch ya.